When I first moved downstate, I often heard people talk about the city. It wasn't long before I figured out they were talking about Manhattan.
Welcome to New York.
A densely populated borough of New York City, mostly on an island between the Hudson and East Rivers. I'm going to try and summarize its full story. And kind of a lot's happened here, so let's jump right into it.
So, what's the topic of discussion?
About 10,000 years ago, Manhattan was buried under a glacier about a mile thick. After it melted, the ice sheet sculpted the landscape and left behind boulders that you can still find in Central Park today. Following this, Lenni Lenape natives inhabited the area. They called it Mannahatta, possibly meaning Island of Many Hills. In 1524, Giovanni de Verrazzano stopped by, and about 100 years after that, Henry Hudson showed up, sailing for the Dutch, a nation that would soon set up shop.
Everybody getting this so far?
By 1624, the Dutch West India Company founded New Netherland as a fur trading colony. Governor Peter Minuet would quote-unquote purchase Manhattan from the Lenape, although the Lenape didn't look at land ownership the same way that Europeans did. The Dutch soon built their capital, New Amsterdam, at the southern tip of the island.
Good.
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 Great.
Great.
In the settlement, there were a few main roads, suitable for a diverse, bustling town built around a fort and marketplace. In the 1650s, the Dutch built a wall to guard against potential attacks, and that's why the site is called Wall Street today. However, the wall didn't do much, because in 1664, the British came in, and the colony was surrendered without major fighting.
Can't believe that didn't work.
I know, me neither.
Under British rule, Manhattan was renamed in honor of the Duke of York, and the settlement grew. By the mid-1700s, there were about 10,000 people here. In 1750, a country estate named Chelsea was built on Manhattan's west side, marking the start of what would eventually become the Chelsea neighborhood. Greenwich Village lay just to the south, a small settlement known for its winding roads and scattered farms. During the American Revolution, the island was crucial. Early in the war, Fort Washington was built in Washington Heights as part of a wider effort to guard against a potential British invasion. And right after independence was declared, Brooklyn was lost to the British, but luckily George Washington was able to cross the East River under cover of fog and save the Continental Army.
That is quite a situation.
However, they were quickly kicked off the island, and there was a massive fire. But with the Continentals out, the British made it their headquarters for the remainder of the war. After the Revolution, Manhattan was home to the first capital of the U.S., and by the 1800s, the population had risen to about 60,000. Soon, you'd have Robert Fulton launching the first successful steamboat here, and Canal Street as an early northern boundary. In 1811, the Commissioner's Plan laid the groundwork for future growth in a rectangular grid system. Things were ripe for the 1825 completion of the Erie Canal, which had major effects on the port city. Warehouses and factories began appearing south of Houston Street, an area later known as Soho, and also in neighboring Tribeca. In 1831, NYU was founded, the same year the New York and Harlem Railroad began, which was the city's first train. The line made it to the small farming community of Harlem by 1837. Sadly, there was a great fire around this time that destroyed much of lower Manhattan. However, things were rebuilt, and in the 1840s and 50s, thousands of immigrants were arriving. So you have the simultaneous emergence of nativist gangs and Chinatown. Later, East Village grew as a center of immigrant life, and the growing population was getting thirsty. So, in 1842, the original Croton Aqueduct was completed, engineered by John B. Jervis, who is a legend upstate where I grew up. He also helped design the High Bridge, and to this day it remains the city's oldest standing bridge. Then the safety pin was invented here, and in 1858, work began on Central Park. It wasn't the first park on the island, but it was the nation's first public landscaped one.
I didn't say Park Drive. I said through the park.
During the Civil War, you have the New York draft riots and a rags-to-riches industrialist named Cornelius Vanderbilt buying up railroads. By 1869, he united 3 major rail lines and began building a Grand Central Depot on 42nd Street. This move accelerated the growth of Midtown, which was kind of a middle ground between the booming downtown and still sparse uptown, and it included neighborhoods like Murray Hill. By 1870, there were over 1 million people in Manhattan as it absorbed wave after wave of immigrants.
We're going to New York. Move it.
Tammany Hall was a powerful political group that gained support from immigrants, and this helped people like William Boss Tweed rise to great power in the city. It's the kind of corruption that might lead someone to look for comfort, and luckily, a new cocktail called the Manhattan was available.
I'll have what she's having.
In 1879, Madison Square Garden opened, complete with the only indoor ice rink in the country. 3 years after that, Thomas Edison illuminated part of Lower Manhattan, which was another first. In 1883, the Giants baseball team was founded, playing at the Polo Grounds. Later, the Yankees, Mets, Jets, and football giants would play there as well. 1883 was also when the Brooklyn Bridge opened. It was the longest suspension bridge in the world at the time, and later it would be joined by bridges such as the Williamsburg, Manhattan, Queensboro, and George Washington bridges.
You gotta understand these things. Give them time.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
The city's first skyscraper was the Tower Building in 1889. Structures like the Flatiron and Woolworth buildings would soon follow. During this era, elevated railways became a thing, and Theodore Roosevelt was walking the streets as police commissioner. At the turn of the century, Manhattan became one of 5 boroughs officially consolidated into the greater New York City that we know today.
New York City!
The city's first subway line opened in 1904, the same year that the New York Times building was completed at what would become Times Square. Soon, a New Year's Eve ball drop tradition would begin as a safer alternative to fireworks. Around 1905, Lombardi's opened in what was then Little Italy, becoming the first officially licensed pizzeria in the U.S. Meanwhile, the island's population continued to grow, with its highest population ever at about 2.3 million. In 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire killed over 100 workers, most of them young women, spurring major labor reforms and workplace safety laws. Around this time, Penn Station and Grand Central Terminal were constructed, but they later demolished Penn Station and pretty much threw it under Madison Square Garden, where it is today.
Thanks for the update.
During World War I and the Spanish flu, growth in Manhattan paused briefly. However, soon after that, the borough became known as the Big Apple, a term jockeys used for large prizes at horse races.
Now that indeed is a remarkable piece of information to have at your fingertips.
It was the Roaring '20s, when the Harlem Renaissance flourished with a burst of creativity and cultural impact. 1924 was the first Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, and 2 years after that, you have the New York Rangers and NBC, the first national radio network.
I'll bet your Mr. Sawyer doesn't know that.
The Great Depression would hit New York hard, but it didn't stop the construction of skyscrapers. You have the Chrysler Building in 1930 and Empire State Building a year later, the world's tallest upon completion. You also have the rising of Rockefeller Center, and with it the humble beginnings of a Christmas tree tradition started by workers as a symbol of hope during the Depression. Then there's World War II, and a Manhattan Project, not actually in Manhattan, and then the Knicks, Met Gala, and headquarters of the UN. During the 50s and 60s, Broadway held its place as the heart of American theater, and on the Upper West Side, Lincoln Center rose as a cultural hub.
Are you kidding? Lincoln Center, Alice Tully Hall, the Met. Magnificent facilities.
In 1969, patrons at Manhattan's Stonewall Inn fought back against a police raid which spurred the modern movement for sexual minority rights. Then you have the New York City Marathon, and Twin Towers becoming the new tallest structures on Earth. In the 70s and 80s, Manhattan struggled with financial instability and crime. But it also became a hub for art and counterculture. Studio 54 opened in 1977, and that same year, the I Heart NY logo was designed as part of a campaign to promote tourism.
I love this town!
Sweetie, this is New York City. Nobody loves anything that much.
Donald Trump was busy reshaping Manhattan real estate, and in 1987, the movie Wall Street was playing in theaters, while the real Wolf of Wall Street was starting his career here.
It's his first day on Wall Street. Give him time.
In 1993, a truck bomb went off at the World Trade Center, and later, on 9/11, terrorists completely destroyed the towers, leading to a global shift in security. Fast forward to 2014, when One World Trade Center opened, symbolizing resilience and renewal. But before that, you have Occupy Wall Street and the completion of the High Line Elevated Park. Then COVID hit, and the city has pretty much been rebounding ever since. Today, Manhattan has an awesome balance of old and new. It's larger than life. A place where anything can happen. And there's so much more to say about it. In my heart of hearts, I'm an upstate boy. But I do have a big soft spot for Manhattan. When I moved downstate in 2013, I used to love going down to the city and riding my bike around. And I go back every chance I get. And if you look closely at the place, you can still find traces of glaciers, the Lenape, and everything in between.
Hey, you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished here.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Have a good one.